According to new polling data, independents, registered independents, and people who just declare themselves free from either political party, those individuals now outnumber the people who identify as either Democrats or Republicans. The latest numbers are this: 46% of voters say that they are independents, 28% identify as Democrats, and 24%, coming in last out of the major parties, identify as Republicans. But the 46% identifying as independents is, of course, statistically significant. Independent voters are, in fact, the ones who decide elections. In 2016, Donald Trump won with independent voters by a margin of 4%. In 2020, Biden won with independent voters by a margin of 13%. And of course, both of those individuals won. Even though Donald Trump did not win the popular vote in 2016, he did win the electoral vote, and it's because the independent voters pushed him over that threshold. So what does this mean? Well, it means both parties are in trouble, and unfortunately, independent voters, when disillusioned with the system, take it out on the party that currently holds power. That is statistically and historically what these voters do. And considering the fact that they make up a voting bloc that is effectively double what the other two parties are, basically, they're going to decide this election. So it doesn't bode well that Congress recently received its historically worst approval rating ever. So that's bad for Democrats. And I gotta be honest here, there's several things I want to point out. Is it fair to say, as these voters do, according to interviews they did with Truthout, that the system is rigged, right? The two-party system is here to stay, it's rigged, they're shutting out other competition. Is that fair to say? Hell yeah, it's fair to say. That is what happens. 23 states, including pretty much every swing state, has closed primaries, so if you're not a registered independent, you don't get a voice in those primaries at all. And yes, that is a problem. That's actually something that many years ago I was in favor of closed primaries, but I realized how wrong I am about that. So no, primaries should in fact be open. But the other problem that the Democrats have is that these voters view both parties as just totally corrupted, which to a degree is an accurate statement, but it's also not an accurate statement. Let me tell you what I mean. In terms of being corrupted by corporate money, yeah, both parties are guilty. But there's differing levels of guilt here, right? We know Democrats like Manchin and Sinema and some of the other Democrats out there that always make the headlines for voting against the good things. That's corruption, right? They get the corporate money, they vote in favor of what the corporations want them to. Republicans do it to a much larger degree, and of course you do have some Democrats who are totally free of this corporate influence. You can't say the same on the Republican side, so no, it's not exactly even. Not to mention, disillusioned and disappointed with both parties. Totally understand that. But let's also think for a second that we have one party that is actively out there right now wanting to kill you. And I'm not saying that as hyperbole. In the past week, we have seen different Republicans talk about, one, either killing women by giving them the death penalty if they seek an abortion, or two, killing transgender activists, putting them in front of a firing squad, I believe was the exact quote. So yes, there literally is one political party that if you don't fit within their guidelines of being a straight white person, they're okay with you dying. So, yeah, I'd say that's a pretty big difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. So when I say things like, it's fair and it's unfair to, say both parties are corrupted, it's fair because they are both corrupted. It is unfair to put them on that equally terrible footing. And we see this happen even with people on the left who say, oh, Democrats and Republicans are terrible. Sure they are. But come on. If you're going to try to compare the Democrats not giving us Medicare for all, which of course is terrible, with another party that actively wants to kill you versus passively, I'm sorry, but the actively is worse. So there it is. Independent voters outnumber Democrats and Republicans, and they're going to be the ones to decide this year's midterms. And honestly, the Democrats should be worried about that, but we should all be worried about what happens if Republicans take back over, because they've made it clear all this oppressive legislation we see from state to state right now, they're bringing it to DC if they get the majority, and that's not going to end well for anybody. Hey everyone, this is Aspen. And did you know that for the low cost of $0 per day, you can subscribe to the Fair and Balanced YouTube channel? We also encourage you to like, comment, and share, but again, click that subscribe button and help Aspen not be so grumpy.